Nothing quite like the madness of a holiday weekend out there on the water, but something that can add to that madness is when you throw a special event, kind of like we see here. So we were able to join in over at Boca Grande this past weekend where they do their H2O festival, where literally thousands of boats hit up the Sandbar for a live concert over Memorial Day weekend. What a wild event it is, but things got even wilder as the tide went out and we had an unusually low tide. The next thing we knew, there were hundreds of boats stuck on the Sandbar, including some of ours. But it appears we weren't the only people this past weekend, as I've seen plenty of images of others out there enjoying the weekend on the water and seeing things just like this. Looks like we had some crazy low tides over Memorial Day weekend. And speaking of craziness, if anybody was out there at Boca Grande and happened to catch us moving that Twin V and all the madness that ensued with that, if you happen to catch any video of that, hit me up at Facebook or Instagram. I'd love to see it. But let's get this episode of Boneheaded Boaters of the Week started, and it's an easy one with the holiday weekend. Plenty of people out there doing boneheaded things.
Oh, this is a good idea.
Now, somebody will have to explain this one to me. If you were this early on into this adventure, right at the beginning of the bridge, and hear that the damage is crazy, and speaking of damage, how these guys didn't wind up damaging a prop or one of their friends is beyond me. And once again, we saw lots of low tides this past week, and especially where we were hanging out over on the west coast of Florida. But fortunately for us, even around thousands of boats, I actually didn't see anybody attempt to do this. Even though I kept waiting for it to happen, we never actually saw it out there at the Sandbar. Another thing we didn't see was this, but I'm sure there was plenty of this weekend as well. Apparently not everybody could read this weekend either, because I have to imagine this guy was not following that 5-mile-per-hour sign when this happened. Now, our last crew was pretty stuck up there, but I'm sure we saw plenty of stuck vehicles around the boat ramps over the holiday weekend as well. I mean, there's lots of ways to get stuck down there. Sometimes you'll just get stuck spinning tires and not be able to get out, and other times it'll be a little more drastic like we see here. Now, some boaters are... And while we're on the subject of not thinking things through, I got a feeling this crew didn't plan this one out very well as well. If you're going to take that vehicle, boat, anything down there on the beach to try and get it launched, the last thing you want to do is do it as the tide's coming up. Or at least you better watch the tides and the waves and make sure you don't get yourself caught down there, kind of like this crew's doing. But I guess they don't even need a boat down there, they just went ahead and turned the Forerunner into the boat. Now, the surprising one on this one is somehow they've found a way to get this thing out. The truck's up, it's running, and they're driving on their way out of here. Just like this vessel decided it was going to drive itself out of the marina as well, while this crew tries to chase it down and get it caught. I mean, boat wrangling at its finest. No better traditional holiday weekend treat than this. Except for maybe watching that guy get towed in by somebody else who doesn't know what they're doing. The wildest part of this one's I gotta edit the audio out because we're a family-friendly channel, but the guy who is being towed in that winds up in the boats here actually winds up cussing the guy out that towed him in. I mean, if you didn't want to wind up like this, bro, buy the tow insurance. Don't ask some random guy to do it. Then, of course, we got the old jet ski boys out there enjoying the holiday weekend as well. They're always a fun, wily bunch to watch. Here we can see this crew was out there trying to enjoy a day of surfing. I'm assuming the jet ski's out there to assist the surfers, but it looks like the surfers might need to assist him. Now, fortunately in this situation, our dude is able to get back to the ski, able to get climbed on and get it going again before it gets washed out by a wave, which is all good for him. I mean, not everybody gets so lucky. Even the pro boaters from time to time get out there and find themselves in hard spots where things wind up going wrong and they just can't get out of their own way. Now, while this crew wasn't able to get out of this vessel's way and they look like they're stuck in a hard spot, sometimes the pros just get lucky. That's all it takes every once in a while on the water, is for you just to get that lucky narrow miss where you'll wind up out of the way on your own. Kind of like this tugboat crew's about to find out with their narrow miss. Now, sometimes we sit back and watch the pros out there on the water and think, man, these crews really know what they're doing. And then sometimes I personally sit back and watch and say, what the hell are they doing? Like this situation here. This is a professional charter boat with a professional captain behind the helm. I'm sure he's just trying to show this crew a good time, but going into the whitewash and into the breaking waves on a boat with only a single motor seems like an absolutely horrendous idea to me. Let me know in the comments below. Maybe I'm overreacting on that one, but if that one motor goes out, you're gonna wind up whitewashed onto a beach somewhere or onto a reef. And speaking of being washed up onto a beach, the pros don't always wind up washed up onto a reef. Sometimes they wind up there on purpose, kind of like this crew here. Here it's a little odd to see a big fishing boat like this coming straight in toward a beach, but the reality is he's just going to meet his friends. The day of fishing is done. His boys have called him and said, hey, we're over here at the Sandbar, meet us. And I mean, sometimes if you're gonna go meet your boys at the Sandbar, you work with what you got vessel-wise, and apparently this is what he's got. So he's gonna meet him over there, and the boys are gonna come over here and try and get him a frosty beverage, but they learn real quick that it's a little bit hard when you got this much freeboard. There we go, the crew winds up getting a boost, and sometimes to get the job done in boating, that's all you need is a little extra help, a little extra hand. Speaking of winding up on the beach and needing a little extra hand, that's exactly what happens to our guy here. Now, I gotta imagine, I'm just guessing, this was moderately semi-intentional. My man has one of those motors that cuts right through the mud. I'm thinking he thought he was gonna cut that corner, wound up hitting it, and that mud was a little thicker and a little harder than he thought, and the boat was just like, nah, we're not doing it today, bro. But fortunately for him, he gets a little lucky, and right here we can see there's law enforcement nearby, sees it going down, and fortunately, the law enforcement crew decides they're gonna pitch in, give him a hand, get a little water underneath him, and get him pulled out and back on his way. Thanks for watching, crew. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Boneheaded Boaters of the Week. If you ever see anything crazy happening out on your waterways, be sure to hit us up at Broncos Guru on Facebook or Instagram and let us know, and you might see your stories over here. Just like the Wetland Gypsy, Adam Coolidge, E. Goodwin, Logan Montague, Reggie Sawyer, Hinsaw21, and Ryan Harrington did this week. And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and drop an anchor on the subscribe button here.